Welcome back to another episode of Any Last Words. I'm your host, Joe. If you're new, welcome, welcome. And if you're not new, welcome back. Tonight we're going to get into a little bit of a mix between true crime and horror. So, yeah, it's fucking crazy. Um, I just totally lost what I was going to say. Oh my gosh. Totally, normal, I guess. Normal night. Anyway, real quick, tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo. We're going to be doing a little bit of the Creepy Kitchen early / makeup for last week because I had a little bit of a mental faceplant and totally just disconnected myself the whole weekend. So I'm playing a little bit of catch up with everybody. I still have to announce the winner for the Rondo Award vote for me, which I still very much appreciate. Thank you. But since tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo and tacos are my favoriteest food ever, we're going to be doing tacos and we're going to do some of those fancy elotes. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video. I'm not on Facebook right now because Facebook doesn't like me, and that's okay because I'm not changing. Anyway, excuse me. So yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about Ed Gein, the Plainfield Butcher, or the Butcher of Plainfield. I forget which one it's called, but if you Google it, it'll correct you. So this guy actually was actually the inspiration for 3 different iconic horror movies, thriller movies, slasher movies, whatever you want to call them. Hey, dude, what's up? Thanks for joining. Just started getting into what we're talking about tonight. But yeah, Ed Gein was the inspiration for 3 different horror movies: Psycho, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and The Silence of the Lambs. And yeah, it's really gross. It's really gross. Just even thinking about all this is really gross. I've gone over this guy on another show that I do, but I did it like years ago. So having to like reread this stuff, some of it was like, ugh, God, that's so gross. I remember this. Oh, did he really? Jeremy Rainier? I haven't seen the what I guess a documentary or recreation of it. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard it was pretty good. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to see it though. I mean, I don't know. If you've seen it, let me know how graphic it gets because this guy is pretty gross. So just if you guys are not aware of who this guy is, just a warning, it's going to get a little graphic for some people. Just depends on your sensitivity level, but I just got to say it for safety's sake. So anyway, I'm going to get into a little bit of the backstory of his growing up life, pretty much up into the time that everything goes down, and then you guys will pick up the pieces as we go along. Basically, like you'll see, like, oh, this is where they picked it up for Norman Bates. Oh, this is where they picked it up for Buffalo Bill, etc., etc. So, you think he did Dumber? You know what? You're right. He did do Dumber. That was an older one. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because there was a scene in it, and I was like, I don't want to watch this anymore. It was pretty gross. But yeah, no, you're right. It was a Dahmer one. I did see parts of that. What is it called? My friend Dahmer or something like that. That was a long time ago. But anyway, so yeah, Ed Gein was born in 1906. So this is like he was born like over 100 years ago. Old as shit. Yeah, so he was born in Wisconsin. He was the youngest of 2 boys. His mother and his father had like a weird relationship. I guess nowadays it'd be considered weird. I mean, he was an alcoholic, couldn't really hold down a job, and she was like a super strict Lutheran woman. And so she would not divorce him because it was against their religion to divorce. So she stayed with them and put up with his shit. He did a whole bunch of different things. He was a leather tanner, he was a carpenter, he was an insurance salesman, and she basically just ran their grocery store. And one day they ended up selling their grocery store and they went and bought quite a bit of land, like a farm basically. And Augusta, the mother, she really liked the fact that they were far away from the community. They were on their own private, place away from everyone else, so that way she can keep her boys closer to her and instill in them her beliefs, yada, yada, yada. She also expressed very much when she was pregnant with Ed, that she was really hoping for a girl because she felt that she would bond better with a girl. And then when she had him, she liked to remind them a lot how much she wished he was a girl, how much she wished he was a girl because she wanted a girl. As well as a lot of other things. She read the Bible to them religiously. No pun intended. She read it to them all the time, and she would always pick out like the graphic, violent stories in the Bible to tell them. She told them that all women were evil, they were loose, they were whores, and they were all damned to hell, but not her, because she had given her life to the Lord, and she, lives by the book. So she's exempt from all the other whores that run the world. So, Dad continued to be an alcoholic. And in 1940, when he was about 66 years old or so, respectively, he actually passed away. He got real ill because of the alcoholism and then just died. The boys at the time were, Ed and his brother Henry were in their 30s or around 30 at the time. So they had to kind of pick up the slack for Dad and start helping, to take care of the living expenses in the farm and everything. So they both started doing a lot of odd jobs, mostly handyman work. And Ed was actually a babysitter in the community, and everybody really enjoyed having him. He got along with the children really well, probably because his self mentally was just, he was kind of weird. Everyone just said, he's really weird, but he was really trustworthy and nice. We liked him well enough, kind of deal. Same with the brother. Eventually, his brother Henry started seeing a woman who had a child out of wedlock, and the mother did not like that very well. And Henry didn't really care. He was just like, I kind of see through your crap, and I really think you're a toxic person. I want to get away from you. And didn't understand why Ed was so close and connected to her. Like, he was just latched on to her. And he would come around and he would tell Ed, basically kind of talking crap about the mom, and how she is. And, that he needs to kind of get away from her. And Ed didn't like that too well. And one day they were out cleaning a bunch of brush that was on the property. And the way they did that at the time was they just set it on fire, or like a control burn, basically. And the control burn got out of hand. And he said that they got separated in the smoke. And the fire department ended up having to come and put out the fire because it just really got so bad. Later that night, he ended up calling the police and saying, hey, my brother is missing, can't find him, lost him in the smoke. So they sent out a search team. They found his brother's body, I don't think very far from the fire. And he had no burn marks on him. He actually had like bruising on his head. And yeah, the police they didn't even investigate it. They're just like, oh, fire killed him. So fuck you, fire. And just kind of left it at that. So, so that just left Ed and Mama. Mama knows best. Mama's very controlling. He's very latched to her. So do you see kind of like the little bit of a Norman Bates thing going on here? Let's see, where are we at? Okay, so then later on, Mama Augusta ended up having a stroke, and Ed had to take care of her like fully at this point, on top of like the farm and all this other stuff. And 1945, so a few years later, she ended up dying. Or no, I'm sorry. Let me back up. She hadn't died yet. In 1945, him and his mother actually went to a property to go buy like some hay or some straw or something from a man, and he like beat a dog to death in front of them. This is the graphic part. Beat the dog to death in front of them, and they were just like whatever about it. I guess a lady had come out and she was like begging him and pleading him to just stop doing it. And the guy was just very dismissive towards her. And Augusta got angry. But she wasn't angry because the man did this to this poor animal or dismissed the woman and her pleads to stop it. She was upset because they were living together out of wedlock. So she was mad at the woman because women are whores, remember? Remember, Mama? Yeah. So, yeah. So you kind of see where her head's going. She's like, she's a little weird, just kind of like he ends up being. Well, he is, but yeah. So, shortly after that incident had happened, she died, and she was about 67 years old. After she died, he started acting more and more and more bizarre. So weird. He started boarding up and closing off like doors and windows around the house, especially places like where his mom was at, and like kind of to preserve her, like he kind of preserved her room basically. And the rest of the house just started piling with filth and garbage, and just not caring, just went to that dark place. Everything is just trash now. And but he continued to like go work odd jobs and get money and stuff like that. So I mean, wasn't too depressed to go to work. Let's see. Oh yeah, and then shortly after that, he started becoming like fascinated with like the horror comic, like the comic books, and a lot of anatomy books. Like he was just very fascinated, wanted to know everything about it. And in November of 1957, early in the morning, he went to a local shop. What's the last name? Warden. Yeah, Warden's hardware store. And the lady who was the owner of it was working that morning. And all of a sudden, the store was closed for the day. And no one really knew why. They kind of tried to chalk it up to, well, it's deer hunting season, so nobody's really in town right now anyway. Everybody's gone. Everybody's out in the forest right now, so maybe she just closed for the day because it's slow. Nobody's going to be around. But more and more people started coming to the store, and just like nothing's opening. There's no sign saying what happened, nothing. So one of them, and a customer ended up calling her son, who is also the deputy sheriff. He went to the store and let himself in, and he basically he figured that she probably got robbed because he found loose changes everywhere, all this other cash registers kind of messed with, until he started seeing blood like on the wall and the ceiling, and he found a large puddle of blood, and then started to get a little worried about what the hell was going on. They basically figured out really quick that it was in fact Ed Gein, because he was there the night before, and he had to come back the next morning for antifreeze. And the last and only basically receipt that there was in the store, and they were handwritten receipts at the time because, like 1957, it was a handwritten receipt that said, Eddie Gein for antifreeze. So they're like, yeah, gotta be him. So then they go to his house. No, actually, they arrested him at a supermarket. Then they went to his house. When they went to his house, holy hell, that is just when everything just got really weird, bizarre, gross, and traumatizing, I guess. I mean, I couldn't imagine walking into something like what they had to walk into. Like I said, the house was total disarray. It was filthy, trash everywhere, old food, cigarettes, just random shit, just trash everywhere. I was trying to get a photo to come up, but I can't save photos on here. It only lets me do videos. So next time, you guys can look it up if you guys don't already know. But let's see. Okay, yeah. So the first thing they found, they went out to the barn. And when they went out to the barn, they actually found Miss Warden hung upside down and dressed out like a deer. Like she was being mutilated, basically, like a deer. And that wasn't all. That wasn't all. Not at all. Not by far. Not by a long shot. It's okay. So in the house, I made a list. I didn't list everything, by the way. Like I said, if you guys haven't seen the documentary, if you're not familiar with this story, and your tolerance level for some of this stuff is okay, then you maybe look it up. I'm not saying you should. I'm just, you do it at your own risk, basically. But anyway, things that were found around the house. Basically, he had taken skin. Because like I said earlier, his dad, like, tanned hide and stuff. So he kind of, I would assume he would know how to work with skin. It's the same shit. But there was a chair that was made with human skin. There was a lamp where the lampshade was made of human skin. He made a bodysuit. I like, pun intended. He made a bodysuit out of out of skin from different women. He had leggings. He had made leggings with legs. He had made a torso corset. He made a belt out of nipples. He had a bowl that he ate food out of that was made from a skull. He had all kinds of just really gross, disgusting, bizarre, psychotic. He's a maniac, dude. There's so much going on. But it was, I don't remember if it was a rumor or if it was something he had said, but apparently something about like he would dress in all of the skin attire, because there was gloves with fingernails on it. He had a face mask. He had nine face masks made from faces, 9 of them. Okay, so apparently he would get all dressed up and dance in the full moonlight. I gotta look that one up because I don't really remember that. I just saw that today. I gotta check that. But he was not all there. So you kind of see the Leatherface too in there, the skinning and the wearing of the flesh from people. And I'm just gonna guess Buffalo Bill is just like, puts a lotion on the skin or gets, well, yeah, he kind of had like issues too. Anyway, ugh, it's so gross. It's just so gross. And then just like, because I've seen the pictures too, and it's just, ugh, I'm not cool with that. Anyway, he had like, oh yeah, he had like the curtain drawstrings. You know how they have the little weight on the end? Like he had one of those with like a pair of lips on it. He had genitalia in shoe boxes of females, and he would put them on himself like he would have one. Because his mother wanted a daughter, so it was put in his head to be close to her, he had to be what she wanted to be. And he never dated. He was never with a woman. He was never interested in women. He was just like very, very abused and traumatized by this woman. My Lord, so messed up. He did, or not he, the police did find another woman that was in there who had come up missing. She was a bar owner. I don't. I want to say when I did this before, it was something, I think the mom had said something about the bar owner because she was a female that ran a place with alcohol, and women were like 2 of her, firsthand no-nos with mama. Alcohol and women are no-nos. So I think that was the reason why he did something. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to go back and check. It's been a while since I've done this story. So yeah, between 1947 and 1952, he had made over 40 visits to 3 different cemeteries and exhumed, if you will, 9 women. And basically, he kept digging. It's not like he just picked 9. He was digging, except for when it was too cold outside and like it was snowing and the ground was too hard to dig through. So then he wouldn't dig at those times in the cemetery. But as he would dig one up, and usually they were like fresh ones, he would dig them up and then see what they looked like, because he was basically collecting women that resembled his mother. If that goes back to a little bit more of a Norman kind of deal right there. So, and they'd even asked him if he had done anything with the bodies, and he said no, because they smelled too bad. It's like, so if they didn't smell too bad, would you have? I don't want to know, but that's disgusting. And that was the first question that popped up in my mind. Just because of his answer. I'm just going to say that. But yeah, so like I said, he basically constructed a woman suit out of multiple women in a very grotesque and bizarre way. Ugh. So anyway, in 1959, he was charged with 1 count of murder, which I don't get why. I thought the other lady was murdered by him as well, or maybe she came up missing and he got her somehow. Anyway, he wasn't found guilty though, because he was diagnosed with being schizophrenic. So it's like, yeah, you did it, but we can't really hold you accountable for it because you weren't in the right state of mind to know if you were doing the right thing or not, kind of deal, if that makes sense. So what they ended up doing is they sent him to a mental hospital for the criminally insane. They ended up moving him to another one. Then he went and had a trial. It took, I want to say, like about a week, because they said that he was kind of somewhat able to stand trial. Like, yes, he was schizophrenic. He was in a psychotic state. He was kind of had a lower IQ on top of that. But he was able to speak with lawyers and kind of understand, what was going on through them, basically. So then they waited until about 1968. They had a 1-week trial. They did not have a jury. They requested not to have a jury, so it was all basically up to the judge to decide what was going to happen to him. He did tell a psychiatric doctor that he wasn't sure if he had killed Bernice Warden or not, that he had been looking at a rifle when it accidentally went off and shot and killed her. But that doesn't explain why you took her body and then hung it up and dressed it like a deer to wear her later. Like, it doesn't make sense. Actually, no. She was decapitated and her head was in a bag next to his bed. Ugh. Oh, hey Aaron, what's up, bruh? How you doing? Thanks for joining. There's a document. Yeah, I heard about that. I have not seen it yet. Have a good night. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if I want to see it. Depends on how graphic it gets. We'll see. Let me know if you've seen it. But yeah, so he said it was basically an accident, but that doesn't really explain the rest of everything that had happened. They ended up finding him guilty. And then they did a second trial for sanity, where they found him not guilty for reasons of insanity. And then they sent him back to the mental hospital, where he ended up dying in 1984 at the age of 77 from respiratory failure secondary to lung cancer. Yes. And then there was weird stuff that happened afterwards. Like, they were like, they sold his car to some circus chick, and then she was charging $0.25 for people to come see the Butcher of Plainfield's vehicle. Like, oh, he sat in this. Oh my God, it's so cool. And his home mysteriously burned down, different weird things like that. But yeah, I mean, so 3 iconic horror movies were based off of this one story. This one case. This is one of the most twisted and bizarre true crime stories in American history, I think. It's just it's just so much. It's so, I mean, there's a lot of crazy true crime stories out there. There's a lot of infamous, people that we see on the daily, like they're the trending ones, like Dahmer and Bundy and Gacy and all them. But if you're a real true crime fan, you know that there's a lot more out there, and there's a lot more bizarre stories out there than what we are, popularizing right now. So I do implore a lot of you to get into true crime if you like this story. Because, yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff out there. A lot of crazy people out there. I don't trust people. People weird me out. My dog's cool. But, yeah, so that was the story of Ed Gein. So that's your true horror for this week. And that was the inspiration for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Psycho, and The Silence of the Lambs. So hopefully you guys picked up those little things in there. And yeah, so that's about it, guys. I'm going to get up on out of here. Appreciate you guys for joining me tonight. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's Cinco de Mayo, Cinco de Tacos. I'm ready for some fucking tacos. I might have a beer. I don't know. I haven't drank in a really long time. And sometimes it sounds good, but then sometimes it's like, ugh. I remember what that feels like the next day. And I remember when I have one, I have to have 1 dozen. So, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll get one of those little like millennial drinky things, the soda waters with the booze in it. I'd probably just add more vodka. I don't know. Anyway, so you guys, I hope to see you guys tomorrow night for Cinco de Mayo. We're going to do tacos, different kinds of tacos, and we're going to do that elotes. So I'm excited and I'm hungry just thinking about it. But I got pizza coming, so I'm going to go eat that tonight. All right, creepy bastards. I love you guys so much. I hope you guys have an awesome evening. And wait, let me line myself up. I'm all talking, not even lining myself up. All right. Hope you guys have nightmares about me. Mwah. Good night.